harpies, which for those of us who are unaware, that's opium. A phony wizard who didn't want to help for fear that it would expose his inadequacies and limitations, and flying monkeys and other strange creatures beholden to the vengeful witch who wanted something from her. But there were also the helpers, and here again is these helpers. Toto was consistent, that was her dog, and he was there with her through thick and thin, and Toto would jump to her aid. It did not matter what was going on, and that he was a tiny dog. Toto was like, I'm a hop into the fray, and if I can help this sister out, I'm gonna help her out. And then she got a posse to go along with her on the journey. She literally helps the scarecrow down from where he has been tacked up in the field. She literally finds the oil can that helps the Tin Man who's been frozen by rain to be able to move again, and then retains it so that when he needs it, he can get, a little more oil to keep him moving. And she literally slapped some sense into the lion, and he needed it. We're not going to go there. We're not going to charge her with assault. He needed a good wake-up call. And then the folks in Oz embraced them and gave them a place. When she finally gets to the Emerald City, they embrace her, and they give them a place to get refreshed before the next leg of their journey. And then there's Glinda the Good Witch, which, if you've seen Wicked, it's who we think of as Galinda. And it probably was Galinda. I need to go back and listen to the other Wizard of Oz. But anyway, the Good Witch who helped her by giving her some assistance, and who stepped in at times when she needed it. But for the most part, Galinda understood that Dorothy needed to stretch somewhat on her own. So she was careful to let her learn many of the lessons at her own pace, because it wasn't going to make sense to her until it made sense to her. Be mindful. So I'm coming back to who and what are you listening to? Be mindful of what you say to yourself, who you listen to. If she had listened to the witch who encountered her while she was still at the ruined house, she would have sat down, become a citizen of Munchkin Land, married a Munchkin, and just said, I'll never see Auntie M and my uncle again, which that was not what she wanted for her life. Be careful of who you listen to. Not just what the message is that you're hearing, but ask if it is evidence-based. Are you going along based on something that you know for sure, or are you in your feelings? Or is it a rumor? Because we hear a lot of rumors and there are a lot of myths. Students are forever telling me somebody told them something. And I'm like, really? That doesn't make sense to me. Let's interrogate that and take that apart. And by the time we're done, we figure out what kernels of truth are in there and what things aren't that accurate. Acknowledge the fact that you are a stranger in a strange land. That's okay. Acknowledge that transition to new things takes time. And acknowledge that everyone will not be on board with you or what you bring to the table. And that's okay. Everybody doesn't have to like everything about you. But also acknowledge that you do have supporters, sometimes in unlikely places, that you may be a pioneer today. But if you hang in there, tomorrow you'll be a settler, which is very important for the people who might come after you. That change takes time for everyone involved, the folks who think they're supposed to be there, and those of us who are joining the fray. And remember that just because someone speaks it, that does not make it truth, or more importantly, your truth. The bottom line is, when you find yourself in something new, unfamiliar, initially and sometimes over time, not welcoming, because we want to be real and recognize sometimes it never gets to the point where it's touchy-feely, huggy, but that's okay too. And you're wondering, am I supposed to be here? Maybe I'm not in the right place. Yeah, I'm doing it as a question, because I want you to think about that. Don't just do something. Stay there for a while. Give yourself a chance to interrogate the source of your doubt about the missions you've chosen for yourself. Talk with trusted others to make every voice is not a good voice for you to hear, but talk with trusted others to make sure you lay out all the information that you need to make a sound. And I'm going to say, and ferret out, look for, do your homework to make sure that the information that you get will help you make a sound determination about where you should be. Be honest about the vulnerability you might be feeling. They always tell you don't go to the supermarket when you're hungry because it'll make you eat or want to eat more or purchase things that you don't really need. Making decisions while you're heavily emotional or in your feelings can lead you to places that you may not want it to. Sit in the discomfort that newness often brings. You'll get used to it, but give yourself a chance to sort of settle in and finally ask yourself why you chose this journey in the first place. And if you are really regretting the choice now, or just need time to get a second win so that you can create new strategies to help you fight for what you want and where you want to be. Okay, so that's all I wanted to share today. Is there any of you that would like to talk about anything that any of you would like to talk about in the time that we have left? Then I'll put up my thank you screen. Yay! And that's it for me.
Thank you so much. And scholars, this is a time, and I think we do have one question. Let's see.
Oh, cool.
Sorry, could I ask?
Sure.
Okay, so like you mentioned, which I was super valuable about it, because I also sometimes give talks, especially to like middle school kids. They invite me over to talk about the imposter syndrome. And I was really thankful about the fact that you mentioned that there is positive aspects to having some degree of like, I can do this or it's all on me. But too much of it is where it gets tricky. And I was gonna ask, like, is there a point, is there a way, okay, let me phrase that a little bit better. I apologize.
Okay, take your time.
What do you think is, or what is a good indicator that you should probably reel back and be like, okay, I should appreciate myself more instead of like being like, oh, it's all on me, we can go for it. You know what I mean? Instead of just, I apologize. You know what? Discard the question.
And it sounds to me like the question is kind of and so you let me know if I'm
At what point can the imposter syndrome become like more detrimental than beneficial? And how can we identify that? There you go.
I think a lot of those behaviors that we talked about earlier on are things like with, let's say, perfectionism. I talk to students all the time with it. They're like, I don't want to turn anything in until it's ready.
Right.
And yet, if the deadline for a paper is, let's say, tonight at midnight, and that paper was assigned 2 weeks ago, and you start working on that paper, and you get, a first draft. I never was a first draft writer. I'm just going to be honest. So I knew that it was going to have to go through at least 2 drafts. Sometimes I would outline and then go to whatever. But anyway, but it needs to get in by midnight. And if you're holding a complete paper at 6 o'clock in the evening that you refuse to turn in because you feel like it needs to go through one more iteration, but you don't trust yourself enough to look through it and figure out what you need to do. So you're sitting there and you rip it apart, and then you find yourself going down a rabbit hole, and suddenly it's tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you never turned anything in. How is that helpful?
I see. So it it's like you said, context dependent, and then
It's
how
very much
we
dependent.
right, and how
So
we
I
just
mean,
basically understand that extreme to ourselves.
and you re and but and I think it takes staying aware. I think it takes staying aware. You can feel, and it's funny, when I was learning to write, one of the things my teachers in high school used to say, Mrs. Claw, God bless her, I don't know where she is today, but she used to tell us all the time when she was teaching us, how to create good narratives, or good papers. She'd say, ultimately at the end of the day, you can hear a good sentence.
Right.
So if you have questions about whether or not something that you've written, so to your eye, it looks like, yeah, this is it. She said, read it out loud. And if it's uncomfortable as you're reading it out loud, it probably is not a good sentence. You hear what I'm saying?
Right.
So recognizing that, when you're kind of going down a rabbit hole with things, if you're not turning in assignments because they weren't perfect, if you're not being able to make decisions because you speak to 17 people and they give you 17 different opinions and you feel swayed by each one, don't know which one to do, and haven't figured out how to sort out for yourself what works, you're not in a good place.
I see.
It's the things that help you make it from wherever you are at this moment to wherever you're trying to go. And I think about, and I'm going to go back to when I talked about the video I wasn't able to share with y'all, but I will send to Maisha. I think about Einstein, and I think Einstein was the one I read this about, who said, they asked him like where he stored all his whatever, and he said, you know what? I get the work done, but I get the work done because of all of the people who are a part of my work group. And I
Right.
don't have to keep it all. I have other people that I can refer to and that I can confer with to get all of the information that I need. But the other thing is those sounding boards, especially trusted sounding boards, can help steer you away from places where you might go astray. So it really is important to have, going back to Dorothy, to have a crew, because you can talk yourself into rolling off the highway. Somebody else might shake you before the car veers too far towards.
Hmm.
But
Thank
you
you for
need
the clarification. Yeah.
does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes much more sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope that answered your question. Any other questions?
And I don't know if you answered it while I had to quickly step away, but kind of based on Ramin's question, but because even now at this age, I still deal with imposter syndrome with
Uh,
many things in life. And I know you talked about the importance of having a team. So I guess kind of a differentiation question as well. How can you tell when you have someone on your team when it's kind of like, how do I want to word this? So I think sometimes with imposter syndrome, at least with me, it's like, oh, this is a new challenge. I don't know if I'm up for it. And sometimes when you have people on your team, they're like, no, go ahead, you can do it. And I think sometimes I don't want to say that's negative, but sometimes if you're like, how can you tell if you're really not ready or if it is that imposter syndrome, or is there even a way to tell that? And then like with your team, is there a way to tell if they're just kind of like just encouraging you because it's you, or if they're kind of just like enabling you to do something where that inner voice might be somewhat right?
and it's funny, your terminology kind of speaks to the answer to your question.
Okay.
No, no, I'm serious. Is this an encouraging or is this enabling?
Mm-hmm.
And again, just like my high school teacher who said you can hear a good sentence, you
Yeah.
know, so she would say, write it down and then say it out loud. And if it's awkward as you speak it, you know who's enabling. And
Mm-hmm.
if you really, really, set yourself really, but I'm saying you really want to get the crunchy feeling stuff out of the way. as much as you possibly can, be set and listen. And then if somebody says to me, and I actually do this with people, first of all of the people that I'm around, most of the people I'm around and really trust are not always going to tell me what I want to hear. I am so grateful that I do not sit in the presence in my my close inner circle of people who are yes people.
Mhm.
I have had plenty of people in my life who will, leave me in my feelings because they're so honest. They're like, really, Lisa? Is that what you were trying to do? It's like, are you really? Because let me tell you what I see. And I'm so grateful for people in my life that will do that. But the other thing is, like, if you sit down and you really hear, I will ask questions. Somebody says, well, I'm going to encourage you to do, okay, so you're encouraging me to do this. What is it that you think you see
Okay.
that gives you the impression that where I tell you that I'm at will link up to success or even a good try if I
Okay.
try to. I mean, it's okay to interrogate even affirmation.
Oh, that's
Because
good. That's really
it's
good.
good affirmation. They can explain to you what they see. I'll tell you, I was just at a leadership institute last week. And one of the last things they have you do with the participants that are in your cluster is to, provide feedback. So things that you think they can do better, things that you think that you see that's impressive. And as I sat with each person, one of the things that it was important for me that I said to them, you know what, because I care, I'm going to have a real conversation with you. So there are a couple of people who are just, I mean, radiant. These are people I could see will go off and do amazing things if they let themselves. And as I was giving them, really good affirmation, I also was giving them the caution about what I was seeing about the way they were stopping themselves, even in that space. So for one, it was always apologizing that I didn't come from, impressive origins. And I said, you don't seem to understand that it is the lack of those origins that you think of as impressive that helped you get where you are. And that helped define the kind of grit you seem to be bringing to the things that you want to do. Really parsing. I wasn't just saying you're great. I was like, this is what I see. And this is why I'm telling you this is what I see. I was not going to give them, because those are empty platitudes. Your great is empty. Tell me what you see that indicates to you that there's something there that's worth investing in. If they're not able to do that for you, then it can feel like enabling. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really good. I wasn't expecting that, but that was really deep and really well. No, in a good way. No, I mean, I know you from, when I worked at the university, so I kind of know what to expect in a good way. But I think that was even more and beyond of the answer that I was looking for. So I'm appreciative of that, and hopefully that helps the scholars,
Yeah,
as
no, I
well.
mean, it is so important. I don't just want to hear, the surface stuff is that.
Yeah.
Really, you really should be able to dig and give some, if you can't give me substantive responses, we probably I probably need to shelve you or re-shelve you in terms of your importance, as somebody that I'm going to seek information from.
Yeah. No, that's really good. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. Thank you so much. Because that was a little personal, but a little for the scholars as well. So
No,
I
it's
appreciate
okay.
that.
It's okay. And I oftentimes, and I'm just going to add this for you, you're a parent, so you really will understand this. Love does not mean giving you everything you want. Love also includes discipline. That also includes disappointment, sometimes sharing discipline and disappointment, saying no, saying not right now. Love is not always yes, 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 take what you want, because then you never form boundaries or can get a realistic picture of what's going on in life. you shape your child, in that way, where you bring both to the table, they become a more balanced person.
Yeah. No, that's good and well needed too, because I'm also struggling with that too with my 5-year-old, giving her, a
Oh
lot
my
of
gosh,
what she
she's
wants.
5?
So yes,
Crazy.
I know time flies so fast. She just turned 5 in January, and I do struggle with that. And even what she said with the affirmations, I'm kind of also learning to tell her, she'll say, "Well, Mom, are you proud of me?" And I've learned with that to say, "Yes, I'm proud of you, but are you proud of yourself? How do you
Yeah.
feel about yourself?" So she doesn't feel like she has to have that. Am I living up to my parents' expectations? Are you living up to your own expectations? And I think that's helped a lot with, so she doesn't feel like she has to do things to please me. Like, discipline is still in there, but making sure she's staying true to who she feels she is by
Yes.
living her life. So, yeah. So that was
Because
really impactful and thankful too.
herself,
Yeah.
she will be there when you are not.
Yes. Yes.
That's great. That is
Yeah.
great. Anything else?
Yeah, I just took over. So, any other questions from the scholars? Well, we have Lisa here and her wealth of knowledge.
No, but thank you. You got very important stuff to say. Thank you so much. We don't get this enough.
Thank you so much. That is really, thank you. Beautiful affirmation. Um, well, I will say as a final note, so that you all can gift yourself back a little bit of time. It's always a pleasure to come and spend time with the McNair scholars. Um, Certainly, in any way that I can be helpful, do not hesitate, Maisha, and let Dr. Brown know this as well, to contact me. I'm always willing, just like when Carmen asked me to create this, to create something that if I know about it, I want to share this knowledge. Knowledge is only wonderful when it is abundantly shared, especially good knowledge. So I wish you all well. Hope the semester ends well, but hope that life goes on despite some of the things going on in our wider social setting. I hope that life goes on in a good way. We have much to contribute. We really do. And especially in times like this, we are going to learn how important that is.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want to strongly encourage you to figure out locally, one-on-one, um, in spaces where you can be helpful, where you can be helped, because it really does need to be a two-way street. Allow for that. The more connected we are and caring we are with each other, the better ability we're going to have to navigate these somewhat tumultuous times. So I just wanted to share that. It's not a part of the presentation, but it does feel like it's time.
No, that is great, Lisa. And I just want to say on behalf of Dr. Brown and the McNair Scholars Program, we thank you so much for coming and giving our students this information and the slideshow. I'm definitely going to share it with the students who couldn't attend today. Do you mind if any of them have any questions? I send them your way or
Oh yeah, that's fine.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, and then
That
if you just want to send me the link that you shared at the beginning, I can share that out with the scholars as well.
I will do that. I think you're on my email, right? You sent me an email.
I think so, but I'll drop it in the chat just in case.
Okay, and I'll grab it and I will make sure I use it to send you that link. It is a really, really cool. It's like 5 minutes at most, and it's worth your time. Okay, well, listen, I'm wishing everybody well, and I look forward to visiting with you all again.
Yes, well, we look forward to having you again, and I'm also going to gift you back your time as well. So it's the gift that keeps on giving.
I know it really is. Okay, you all take care,
All
and
right, bye.
I'll let you close us out since
Thank
Okay,
you. Have a good one.
take care.
thank you. Scholars, have a great one. Scholars, if you're still here really quick, I just want to remind you guys that on Tuesday, we will be having Move with McNair. And it's actually going to be one of your McNair scholar colleagues. His name is Mark Hill. The class is free. It's going to be from 4 to 5:30 p.m. in the lounge downstairs here in Best. And we're going to have water. We're going to have snacks. So all you have to do is bring yourself and a friend if you would like to. So if you're not familiar with Zumba, it's kind of like dancing and exercise kind of mixed in together. Markel is very energetic, very happy when he does this. So I definitely would suggest